Hello, and I should say welcome to the show that isn't actually. And I want to apologize to everyone, but I just plain cannot get a hold of my guest. Um, I'm not sure if Chris is okay or not. I know he has had a little bit of health problems here and there, but I want to apologize to my listeners out there on YouTube. And I'm going to take this YouTube video down, but unless somehow I miraculously get a lot of call-ins and or something like that. But otherwise, I want to apologize. I'm not sure what's happened to Chris. I've tried to reach him at home. And I do want to thank everyone that supports the show. I do want to say that. I always do appreciate that very much. I also want to say that we have a blog up on our website, podcastufo.com, and it's called CIA, FBI, and UFOs. Basically, it's about who's actually watching UFOs, and that's by Charles Lear, and so go check that out. If could turn this into a listener show, if someone would like to call in, and not just someone. We got 2 hours here, so if other people want to call in, you'd be welcome to. So that number, if anyone wants to call in now, unless our guest miraculously shows up, I'm sitting here alone. And again, I was in touch with him earlier today, and everything was fine, so I'm not sure what happened. But my number is 603-967-4030. Would anyone like to call in and talk about a UFO sighting you had or anything along the UFO topic? That line is open. And if someone would like to call in, that would be helpful because I don't have a 2-hour monologue here. And I would appreciate that. But if not, I'm going to actually close the show and move on. And our guest next week is Gary Heselton, and he is a Royal Air Force, Royal Police from the UK, and this is all about UFO sightings, RAF, and the police over at the UK. So that should be a great show next week. So, again, the line's open. Looks like we have someone. Oh, look at this. It is not letting me join the call. I guess that is, I guess we're doomed. The only other thing I can tell you is if someone wants to try Skyping me, that should work fine. And my Skype username is very easy. It's Marty Willis, MartyWillis. One word if someone wants to Skype in. The phone call, try the phone call again if you would, person, and I will try to. Let's see if this works. Hello?
Hi, Martin. It's Andy from Connecticut.
Hi, Andy. How you doing? I'm glad I got
Great.
got to answer the phone this time. So welcome to the show. And I apologize, my guest. I'm not sure what's going on with him, but hopefully he's okay.
Yeah. Hopefully everything's okay. He's a great guy, and he's always a good guest.
He really is. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's got to be some kind of a mix-up. But yeah, we appreciate what you do, and this is kind of live TV. So we're stepping away from the era where you sit in your living room and you can't participate in any way.
That's right.
So yeah, I just I had a sighting that I reported to MUFON and Newfork probably about 2 years ago now. It was on the town line of what is Stratford and Trumbull, Connecticut, at the intersection of Route 8 and Route 25. And about 9 in the evening, I was coming home from a meeting, and it was midsummer, or I'm sorry, late summer. It might have been September. I don't remember the case number, but the reason I wanted to bring this case up was it's really one of just a handful of sightings I've had in my life, is that this object was off to my left. I was in my truck about 9 at night, and sun was down. It's dark out. there was a couple on a Harley in front of me, and a woman on the back of the Harley was also looking up at the object to our left. It was maybe 200 feet off the ground and maybe 200-300 feet away from me. And although I'm staring at it, I cannot determine what the shape is. All I can see is two huge red lights and two huge white lights, which, as you can imagine, that doesn't jive with any light configuration on any plane or helicopter.
Yeah.
But like a lot of sightings, I'm sure this gets stranger and stranger. There is no sound whatsoever, and it's moving extremely slowly. And these lights are so far apart that there's no way it's a hang glider or a parachute or a hot air balloon. It's big. And despite all my efforts of staring at the thing, you can't really determine what the shape or size truly is. All you're seeing is the lights. And it's gliding along in a straight path, dead silent, close to the ground. It's too big to stay aloft. I mean, no traditional plane would stay aloft. And it can't make no sound. That's also impossible. So I'm staring at the thing, can't figure it out. I pull over, get out of the truck. I'm watching it and try to get a shot with a camera, which is useless at night in the distance.
Right.
So as it moves away from me, it never changed its speed or direction, and it just continued to baffle me, where, there's still that slight chance that I was looking at some kind of conventional, aircraft, but I'll be damned if I can figure out what that was. And I did have an investigator call me a few months later. He was not from this area, but out of state, and we discussed it briefly. I sent him some pictures I took of the area, and I used Microsoft Paint to draw some diagrams on what the light configuration was and the direction and so on, give him all the little details. But that really stuck with me. I got the strong sense that I was seeing something that was highly unusual, and I was kind of being allowed to see it. Like they were allowing themselves to be seen. They were not concealing themselves. It's a strange thing. It's a strange kind of sentiment you get.
Well, you're right. When it comes to the lights, I had someone call in one time and, made a really good point. They said, why would they have lights at all? And it doesn't really make any sense, why they would have lights if they were in a planetary or whatever they are.
Right.
Because that is just attracting attention. And, sure, if you're up in airspace, you want to be able to be seen so you're not smashed into by another, airplane or something like that. But still, I'm sure they have all the capabilities of knowing where things are if they got here, around them. So, yeah. I know the thing about the no noise, that's always intriguing. And
right.
I was wondering at first how you knew there was no noise when you were driving along, but you said you got out of your vehicle, so I get it now.
Yeah, I mean, I initially saw the thing. I had my windows down, was at a dead stop at a red light.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And there was no sound, but I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just a stone's throw from Sikorsky helicopters, where Sikorsky helicopters are made. My next door neighbor was a Navy test pilot. You see helicopters all the time. I flew helicopters myself briefly a long time ago.
Wow.
And, there's Westchester, LaGuardia, Kennedy, Tweed, Sikorsky Airport. You see aircraft constantly. But this thing didn't fit with any of those typical, sightings where you know what you're looking at. You can immediately say, that's a corporate jet, that's a Black Hawk, that's a commercial airliner, that's a private, piston-driven propeller airplane, what have you.
Yeah.
It was too low, and it was very slow. Nothing can move that slow and stay in the air, except maybe a
Dirigible or something.
like a dirigible or like an ultralight. But they're extremely loud with the two-stroke gas engine.
That's right.
Revving really hard. And you wouldn't fly one at night. You wouldn't fly one near power lines, near a busy road. I mean, nothing added up.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder when you stop and think, which of the airports had that thing on radar? How many other people saw it that night elsewhere as it traveled along northwards?
That's right, but there's so many reports of things not showing up on radar as well, which is really another really bizarre aspect of this whole mystery.
It is. I had as soon as Chris calls, I'll certainly get off the line.
Hope he does. I'm not getting a text back or anything from him right now, but
no,
yeah.
So when I was in the Army National Guard in New Hampshire in mountain infantry, this is 25 years ago. We were at the training range we used for mountain warfare school, which is the Ethan Allen firing range in Jericho, Vermont. It's not far from Stowe and Essex Junction, Vermont. We were there for our 2-week summer training, and one of the exercises we did was another company pretends to be the enemy, and they attack us in the perimeter that we've established in the woods, and you know it's going to happen, and you have your your role to play. I was a 60 gunner in a foxhole with an assistant gunner, and we're sitting in the foxhole waiting for the enemy to attack. And you sleep in shifts, and you have what's called miles equipment. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Mm-mm.
You fire blanks,
okay,
and the concussion of the blank triggers a laser that's attached to the weapon, and that laser is what the sensor on the enemy's helmet and LBE gear picks up that signal and tells him if he's been shot or he's dead.
Fancy
And
paintball.
so
It's
like paintball. It's like laser. So it's fun. So you're with friends. You're there to train and get ready for the real thing. So it's about 4 or 4:30 in the morning. The sun, it's twilight. The sun's not up yet. We hear gunfire in our foxhole, and the gunfire and the artillery simulators and the grenade simulators and everything are on the other side of the perimeter, hundreds of yards from us. So we know at that point that we're not going to see any action because the enemy is attacking on the other side, and we can't leave our position in case there's some other second wave that comes in towards us. So we're sitting there, bored out of our minds, listening to all this gunfire, and all of a sudden, a green glowing ball about the size of a basketball comes towards us from our left, across us at a pretty steady pace. This thing is about 40 feet from us as it passed. It's about 15 feet off the ground, and it was dodging trees and tree branches as it went. It was totally silent and kind of a sickly green, like a glow stick would glow.
Mm-hmm.
And it was moving quick enough, about as fast as a dog would run or a jogger would run. Myself and my assistant gunner both saw it go by, and we were absolutely speechless. And after the thing was gone, we just looked at each other and said, "What the F was that?" And I couldn't get my head around it, and I don't know what I saw. And that was probably like 1993 or 4, and I still don't know. I'll never know. And I know what I saw, like the movie,
Yeah.
Nobody is going to convince me that I didn't see that or that it was ball lightning or some other thing. wasn't precipitating.
What was the other people in the foxhole? What was the reaction in general?
Same thing, just totally incredulous. Like, what did I see? I don't get it. What was that? And we mentioned it to a few other people, and just like you'd expect, people are uncomfortable with this stuff.
Yeah.
They poke fun at it. They made fun of us, and you get ridiculed. You're like, look, I'm not looking for it. I don't care if you believe me. I want to know what I saw for my own curiosity. I'm not looking to get famous or make money. Just there's a lot more to our reality than the scientific establishment can admit.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I thought I saw a similar green glowing ball once, but it was just a floodlight warming up on top of like a phone pole at a farm, and it had a greenish hue to it. It scared the hell out of me. Every nerve in my body went on alert. I broke into a sweat, and I felt sick to my stomach for a second. And then when I realized it wasn't that ball, I felt immense relief, and it made me ask myself what that ball really was that I saw years ago that would make me so scared to see it again.
It's funny.
You hear about...
Go ahead.
What's that?
Go ahead.
You hear about all these balls,
yeah,
like at the Skinwalker Ranch and in Sedona, Arizona,
yeah,
and the Bradshaw Ranch in Colorado, and elsewhere. That there's somebody somewhere out there in the universe that is in control of these things, and they can either they're gathering information or they can manipulate your emotions. I don't know what they do, but it was not ball lightning, and it was not, there's no other explanation for it.
It's strange when you say that it was going around the tree limbs and things like that. Really makes you, cancels out a lot of other prosaic explanations for what it,
right.
Could have been, which is really bizarre. And green is one of the colors you hear about, the bright green
right.
colors, the orange and the white, generally the three different color orbs that you often hear about. It's pretty wild. Why don't you stay on just for a second here, and I'll see if someone else wants to join the conversation, and,
sure.
and you could drop off. But anyway, the line is open. There was someone trying to call earlier.
Okay.
And so if anyone want to call in, that number is 603-967-4030. And before I take a call that comes in, I just want to quickly give a shout out to someone over in the UK, Jim Ruhr. He's over in, where is he? Manchester, UFO, UK. Anyway, he listens to both podcasts. I actually do a podcast on the antiques. I don't really talk about it much here. I haven't had any new ones out in quite a while. If anyone wants to check that out, it's antiqueauctionforum.com. I think there's like 170 podcasts, a lot of informational stuff. But my next one in February is going to be on antique cars. It should be a really good one. It's going to be filmed as well. But anyone want to call in? That number is 603-967-4030. Otherwise, Andy and I are going to chat a little longer.
Sure.
What is that?
Let
me just ask you this, Andy. Did this sighting you had in 1992, whenever you said it was, is that what sparked your interest in the subject, or had you had an interest in it prior to that?
It was one of the big triggers. I'd always been kind of curious about paranormal stuff. I watched In Search Of as a little kid. I was always a little curious about it. But then when I saw that ball, that did it for me. And then I could touch upon quickly a couple other strange things. I saw a ghost. I'm convinced it was a ghost in about 2006 or 7 in here in Connecticut on the way to work in the winter. It was extremely cold. probably in the teens. It was too cold to ride my motorcycle, so I was in the car. About 6 a.m. in the dark, I saw reflective shoes run across the road, and I said, here's a jogger. This guy's hardcore. I'm going to shut off my high beams and get over and give him room to run by me. And when I shut off my high beams, got over, drove about another 150 feet, there was nobody there. And then I couldn't figure out where the guy went. And when I looked around, looking for the guy, I was beside a cemetery that has a huge fence. So there's no sidewalk. There's nowhere that he would have gone to, or she, nowhere the person would have gone to, and they were just gone. So I saw the shoes, and that was it. And it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks.
Wow.
Later, what I just saw, and I couldn't believe it. And it was at a cemetery, so it's like to me that's kind of a no-brainer.
Well, I gotta tell a story since I don't know if I'm going to keep this video on YouTube or not. I might, but this is quite amazing. I had a good friend. I was pretty close friends with him for a long time, and he became a police chief in a town. And usually I wouldn't want to be, hanging around police too much, but this guy was a lot of fun, a real nice guy, solid guy. So he told me this story. He called me up. He says, "You're not going to believe what happened to me last night." He was working the late shift, the overnight shift, and he drove down this road where there was like marsh and river on each side of the road, and it was like a long road with no trees or anything. And so he's driving along, and he sees this girl, and she looks like she's crying, and she's walking really slow, and looking at him, and he realizes the first thing he thinks of, oh, we got a runaway here. So he pulls over, jumps out. He sees her, and he pulls out, and he jumps out of his car with his flashlight, and she's gone. So
wow.
he got a really good look at her, and so it's all marsh on both sides of the road. So he takes out his flood. He's got this big, huge floodlight, real powerful thing, and he puts it down in the marsh. He can see everything for hundreds of yards. No way she could have run on both sides. Besides, it's all marsh, so she couldn't run through. It's all like mud. So both sides of the road, he sees nothing. He's like, what the heck? He just couldn't understand what was going on. So he gets back in his car, and he gets a call, like there's an accident. And he said, well, I'm near there. I don't know what they call, the call, the number and everything they call it. But anyway, he said, I'm close to there. I'll run to the location. So he gets to the location, and there's a car smashed up against a tree, against a rock wall. And he goes up, and he pries the door open, and it's the same girl.
Wow.
Gone. Died.
That's crazy. I
mean, he was shaking you could hear him on the phone. He was like out of his mind. He was so upset about it. And he didn't dare to tell anyone he didn't dare to tell a soul about it. We were friends, so he told me about it.
No, I don't mention this stuff to my coworkers. I don't bring it up. You just don't, because you get labeled. We all know the situation, but my dad is like Ward Cleaver. He is a straight arrow, hard worker, old-fashioned guy. He's almost 80, and when he was at a bar in Hawaii on a business trip, he ate some kind of poison fish, and he lost consciousness. He was on the floor of the bar, and the EMTs show up to work on him, and he has an out-of-body experience, watches the whole thing happen from above, and when they resuscitate him, he's back in his body.
Oh, my God.
And he would never... This is the last person on earth that you would expect to hear a story like that from.
Wow. Speaking of Cleaver, I had Wally on my Antiques podcast.
Oh, really?
Tony Dow. Yeah. So,
good.
Listen, we got another caller, Andy. Thank you so much for hanging in. Wait,
all right.
Before you leave, I want to make sure our caller's really there. Caller, you there?
Hi, this is Steve from Las Vegas.
All right. Okay, Andy, thanks a lot.
Okay. All right.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.
See ya.
Hi there. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Martin. I've been following your show for a few years now. If I may just, I got interested in UFOs when I was about 8 or 9. my dad handed me the Life magazine with Rex Heflick's pictures of the discs that you see over the highway.
Yeah.
And I've been following it ever since. The past 25 years, I've been collecting UFO footage and just making a library. And the past 5 years, I've been following ufology daily. I gather UFO news from wherever I could get it. So I keep up with the topics, what's going on. And so there's a couple of topics that were making news, and one of them was, I have a few of them, but one of them was, I was wondering what your thoughts was about the DOD commenting that they can't release any videos because of national security.
Yeah.
Now, that's a very hot topic. That was making a lot of news, and I was wondering what you're feeling. What do you think they mean exactly would be a damage to our national security if they release any more videos? Is that saying that they're real? I mean, what is that comment really mean?
You know, I'd only be guessing, but it does kind of seem like it gives it validity. The only other thing that I could possibly think of in a situation like that is that it's an explainable, black op type of situation where they wouldn't want anyone, any foreign country to know about it. I mean, those are the only two possibilities I can think of, and I'm not really sure, but it was quite a statement to make. And I know Chris Lambright, who was on the show, I think 3 weeks ago, I believe, or maybe 4 weeks ago, kind of initiated that through Freedom of Information Act, that he was able to get some information through them, and basically that statement was born through the work he was doing. So yeah, it's been really interesting.
Right. And another topic that's making the news is we have that professor, Michael Masters, writing that book regarding the pilots of these UFOs are time travelers.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes to where Peniston emphasizes a lot what happened to him over there at Renderson. He comments that they really thought these visitors were time travelers. So that's another interesting book that's supposed to be making around.
I had Michael on the show, and he was really interesting. And then I ended up hanging out with him last September in Phoenix we stayed out. I'm not a drinker myself, but I stayed out till like 2:00 in the morning. Had some great discussions. He's really a very interesting guy. He makes some great points, and he's down to earth. I mean, if he can just hang out and chat all night and have fun. But he's an interesting guy, and what a concept that is. And
I think right. I think if you follow ufology, people that believe in visitors and really follow it, are open-minded to that. You have to be open-minded to different scenarios.
That's right.
Interdimensional, and him writing this book about time travel, very possibility.
Well, he told me when we were chatting out there in Phoenix that he's actually bullied some people in the science community. Like, why aren't you taking this seriously? What's wrong with you? I mean, instead of he's kind of doing opposite of what generally happens. People get ridiculed for exploring the topic, and he's out bullying scientists that he knows, saying, why aren't you? This is the most important, could be the most important topic ever, discovered if we actually are being visited by, even if it's time travel, even if it's whatever it is, it's still spectacular. Even if it's us from the future. I have my doubts about that, but it was quite a theory he has. Exactly.
And one thing I do, I follow the UFO researchers, what everybody's doing, and I see whose name you see a lot that's going on, and I see a lot of John Greenwald is doing a lot, helping with getting documents. And I had asked him, I said, do you think that, I go from what I'm seeing, and I sometimes I have to sit back and just look about what's going on to kind of comprehend everything, and then you kind of see a better picture. And I asked him, I feel that the DOD, ufology, have come together to put some pressure on the DOD. To me, I think they got their backs against the wall. I mean, they have to say that those videos, those UFOs were UAPs, to admit it. That some of the things we have these UFOs and putting pressure on them, and they have opened up. John Greenwald states that he thinks maybe the DOD regrets opening up too much, and that they might have opened up their mouths a little bit too much. And John Greenwald will listen, and he'll grasp what people say, and then he'll go after checking for documents.
Yeah.
And but it's great to see everybody pitching in, and to see ufology should come together as one, not an independent of somebody getting more information than this, or getting the books out there, or it's a team effort to come together and work together and everybody in ufology, these researchers all do a part. George Knapp does a tremendous effort in keeping up with them. He has his contact with Bigelow, with his in ufology, has helped a lot. And the story with Leslie Keene breaking a couple of years ago was should be a great guest for you.
I'm in touch with I'm in touch with Leslie quite a bit, actually. I would say probably not a month goes by where we're not at least emailing each other. And she is, I was kind of I was kind of surprised that she did an interview with someone, some podcast, but she's telling me, she does not want to do podcasts right now because there's more in store, according to her. But I'm not about to give like any teasers because I don't really know anything about what's going on other than, both her and Ralph Blumenthal, who is he's only been on my show and one other show. I think he was on Coast to Coast. He was one of the authors of that article as well, and I'm in touch with him about once or twice a year, and he doesn't want to come on yet either because he says there's more that is going to be exposed, and I'm not sure when or why. That is kind of the big question here is why now? Why are these things being let out now? And who's really in charge of that? And how far up does it go that these things are being let out? All the way from
and
the videos
John Greenwald, right? And John Greenwald is the man that does a lot of that work.
Yes, he does.
And
yeah.
I really think he should be recognized more for what he's doing with those documents, because it's amazing. He will go and search for anything he could regarding ufology and the DOD saying, commenting, or TT to the stars. He's been really following that. But his input in getting us documents to verify what people say and we could get some is a great help. So.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for you having your show and letting people call in, keeping us informed with ufology, because everybody's a piece of the puzzle. And I think I'll make my prediction after all these years, me and in the UFO studying it and seeing everything. I predict that 2020, I think we're getting closer. Now, I don't know if the close disclosure is going to happen, but we're going to get closer to questions asked. I think we're getting more video. I've collected video for 25 years, and I got video here that's as clear as is not fake. It's real. Thousands of video has been taken of UFOs, and all you need is one. All you need is one crop circler. All you need is one real crop circler. And of all those sightings, and everything that's happened in ufology since the 70 years, all the men that have sacrificed from Roswell, the intelligence officer.
Hey, hang on just one second. Just one second, if you would, Steve. Do I have another caller on the line now? Hello, caller? All right, I'm just taking this other one then. All right, so didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry about that.
No problem. have put into this has sacrificed. The gentleman that on Roswell that discovered the went and got the pieces out on Roswell and made them pose with saying it was a weather balloon. What was his name? The gentleman he was a fall guy for Roswell.
Yeah.
What's his name? Marcel.
Jesse Marcel?
Yes. And I'm telling you, what he went through to be the fall guy on that and to live with that, I mean, it must have just hurt him. And I mean, what they did. And that's why the truth is going to come out, because they are not going to be able to lie and keep it secret for so long. It will come out. And I think with all this video, I get video every day. That's amazing. And I wish that we could get some of these footage analyzed. We have, in the UFO field, to come forward and help analyze some of this footage, because I get videos constantly. Mexico, I get videos from UFOs going over those volcanoes, and we
All
just
right,
get amazing
hang
video.
on just a second. Let me try to get another caller. Caller, can you hear me? I think it's only letting me take one caller at a time here. So.
Okay.
All right.
Well, okay. I'll let you go to your next call.
All right.
But I want to thank you.
Thanks a lot. Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, caller, why don't you try calling back? I'm sorry that I couldn't catch your call there, and try giving it another ring. And let me put that in. Okay. Skype has been acting up on me terribly. And I've tried to switch over to Zoom, and if I had a heads up, I could have done that. Let's see. Hello, caller. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello? Yeah, hi.
Hi there.
Yeah, hi, Martin. It's
Hi.
based
You sound like you're calling from another planet.
well, I'm on a speakerphone, so that's the only way that I can get onto the phone. So.
Any way you can use the regular phone instead of the speakerphone?
Yeah, sure.
All right,
Any better?
Should sound better.
Yeah, the only reason I was calling in was...
Well, wait a minute. Wait a sec.
What's
your first name?
Steve.
And where are you calling from?
Michigan.
Hi, welcome. Thank you. We have a whole bunch of people trying to call in now, which is good. So hang in there, other people.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the only reason I was calling was because I heard a gentleman a couple of minutes ago saying, why was everything top secret with all these videos, etc.?
Mm-hmm.
And just another angle. Maybe it's not because of what they're seeing, it's what they're using to actually watch what they're seeing. So maybe the top secret part is actually what they're using to see what they're seeing.
That is something I've never thought of, and that's a very good point, because maybe it will somehow expose the type of equipment that the high tech that they're using. That's really, really interesting.
Maybe that's the top secret, is what I'm saying.
That's excellent. I think I'm going to try to take another call. Just hang in there for a second. I just wanted to see if the other one, because I'm having trouble here with Skype. Hello, caller, are you there? No, it looks like I can only take one call at a time here. So, well, that's interesting. So I can tell by your accent you're not originally from Michigan.
No, I'm a Brit, and the other thing is I've been interested in UFOs for many, many years, and Gordon Crichton was a personal friend of mine in the UK. So.
I'm sorry.
Remember Gordon Crichton?
I know the name. I can't remember what.
He did the Flying Saucer Review. It was in the recently with I think it's called Acknowledged.
Okay.
He's the British Secret Intelligence Service guy that did all the Flying Saucer Review magazines in the 70s and 80s.
Okay.
So interesting. I mean, just another by the by. I can call in at a later time. But he told me an interesting story when I was in London many years ago about actually seeing a UFO when he was based in China. Just
Okay, I'm going to have to let you go. Just the connection's really bad. I'm sorry there.
okay,
Steve.
no problem. I'll
All right.
call back in another time.
All right, have a good one.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Thank you. Caller, welcome to the show.
Hey, is this Martin?
Yes. How are you? Who is this?
Hi.
First name.
This is Gil.
Oh, are you people calling me from tin cans and strings? Your phone is. I can just barely understand what you're saying.
Really, I had trouble getting in. Let me try that. Is that any better?
Yeah, that's a little better. Yeah.
Okay.
Say your name once again, please.
My name is Gil, and I'm from Roswell. I've talked to you before.
Oh,
Roswell,
yes.
New Mexico.
Yeah, how could I forget
Yeah, how
someone
you
from
guys
Roswell, right? Yeah.
Right. Well, it's cold and rainy here today. That's don't happen very often. But hey, I had a report. I got a report that I would like to tell you and your audience about.
Sure.
That happened to me. I was flying from here private out of Walker Air Force Base down here to Woodward, Oklahoma. Now, I've never flown to work in lieu of Kansas City. I had to go see an eye doctor. And on the way, we landed in Woodward, which is I guess it's a decommissioned base of some sort. It's a huge place out in the middle of nowhere. And we stopped there, and I switched pilots and planes, and a gentleman out of Kansas City, Kansas, over there by Overland Park, come and got me, and we took off, and we was flying into just outside of Wichita, Kansas, at a private airport there, and going to have had lunch there. So on our flight up, I've heard of all these drones and stuff out in Nebraska and in eastern Colorado. Well, air traffic picked up a unidentified flying object not too far out of Woodward there, and it come up on the radar and all that stuff. But anyway, I was sitting in the back, and the co-pilot and the pilot was, of course, up in the front. And they said, well, they was looking for it. We all have our headphones on and our mics, and we're talking back and forth to each other. And it was at about 400 feet, 300 feet, and it was coming up on multiple radars and whatever they have on board that Cessna that I was flying in. And they said, well, it's right there, but we was flying over it and we couldn't see it. But it was on radar, and even air traffic control from Wichita was, getting us to steer around, and they didn't know what it was. And I was just wondering if that might have been, part of all those sightings that people seeing out there since the last few weeks. But it was kind of strange because we was all looking out the windows, and it was underneath us. We was flying at 5,500 feet, and we never could find it. I mean, we looked around, and it was there, but it wasn't there.
Well, I'll tell you, the one sighting that I've heard of like that was there's a misconception about a sighting that you can see online, and that is you see these lights in the clouds, and it's the Mexican Air Force, and they're and it's been debunked as being fire stacks from offshore drilling when they release the gas up in the air and burn it off. So
I've seen that video.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the backstory of that video, it has nothing to do with what you would see. It has to do with what they were seeing on radar.
Right.
And that was the important thing, and that's what that was all about. Is like they saw objects on radar, and they never visually saw them, but they were, it was unidentified objects that were doing unusual, maneuvers and things like that, from what I understand. But so it's not a total debunking of that particular case. But from what I understand, they never actually visually saw the craft, but they saw it on radar.
Yeah, Martin, it was a clear day. I mean, you could see forever, And we're at 5,500 feet. Shoot, you can see the windshield and on the car, And we was like looking all over. I'm sitting in the back behind the co-pilot, and we're talking. I'm looking out the window. They're looking out the windows. They're looking because they have a GPS, when we fly over like lakes and stuff and railroads, it shows everything. Now I don't know if I don't know if they use that as a type of a radar too. That's in with that, but the co-pilot, Mad, he was from Czechostan, I think. Anyway, and he was looking around. He goes, "Well, I see it right here on the screen." He goes, "But I don't see it outside." And so I'm looking, and I said, "I don't see it either." And there was a few other planes in flight, like out of Kansas City, flying to like Dallas, not Dallas, but Denver or Albuquerque. And they was picking it up on their radars too, the commercial flights.
Wow!
But it was never seen, and it was right above like a 300. So I think 300 foot is under the radar, but it was about 400 feet, so it was on radar, but you couldn't see it. It was crazy.
Well, that's the thing about the equipment. First of all, we only see in a certain spectrum. Our vision is only, and there's so much going on that we don't see in particular, and and I'm wondering, a lot of these UFO videos that are from new equipment, if they're actually seeing things in a different spectrum, if that's what it is, and maybe there are things there that we just don't see. Maybe they're there a lot. But
yeah, absolutely. Well, I thought it was pretty cool that the air traffic control out of Wichita was saying an unidentified object, and that was pretty cool because I've flown a lot, right, privately, a lot. I do it quite a few times a year, and I've never heard of air traffic control saying an unidentified flying object at 400 feet, and that was kind of special. If they've ever said that before, I've never caught it,
Yeah. No, you wouldn't hear that a lot. Very interesting. So, so
but
you're
it was a little tidbit.
Yeah. How far away from Roswell are you actually?
I'm right here in on South Main.
Oh, you're right in
by
Roswell.
The Sonic. Yeah.
Okay. So
I'm right here off of Hobbs and Main Street, Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh, how about that? So, what's it like there in general, as far as the, I know during the celebration in the summer, there's a huge amount of people come into town and flood all the hotels, and it must be quite the chaos situation during that time.
Well, have you been down here lately, Martin?
I have never been to Roswell. I have been to Mexico, New Mexico quite often. I actually lived in Los Alamos, where my sister and her husband were living for about 6 months. I have another caller trying to come in. I'm going to try to take the call and join it and see what happens. It's probably not going to take. Nope, it didn't take. So I have to hang up on each caller and then take the next one. So, but
well, it's a real busy town. The town is busy all the time due to the oil fields now, and they're really blowing and going from Carlsbad, Artesia, all the way up here to Roswell, and people are buying houses like crazy.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They say 60,000 people. I'm thinking more like close to about 90,000 on any given day in the county. And we got a big county, though. But anyway, I'll let you go. I just wanted to give you a little bit of information.
All right, I
and
do appreciate
share it with
that.
Absolutely, Martin. You have a great day.
All
Thank
right,
you for the
thanks
show.
for the call. Yeah. Well, this is turning into a show. I'm actually going to leave up on YouTube. How about that? So if you want to be famous, call in. And that is the number's up on the screen, 603-967-4030. Someone had just tried to call, but obviously I'm only able to take a caller at a time here. So, hello, caller.
Yes, hi.
Welcome to the show. Your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Patricia. I'm from Boston.
Boston. Wow, I'm in Boston all the time.
Yeah, me too.
No, I live up in Maine, but my work, a lot of my
Maine.
work is in
we
Boston.
vacation in Maine all the time.
Yeah. So, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. Do you have a story or like a UFO story?
Well, I have a little story. But
Okay.
I also listen to Martin all the time, and I just want to tell him that last week I took a ride up to Indian Head to see the Betty and Barney Hill plaque.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I've seen that myself.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird up there. It was like snowing, but there were clouds and the sun came through. It was very mysterious.
Yeah. It's a beautiful area there.
It is. No, I just had a little story of something that I saw about 4 years ago up at Lake George, New York. It was just, I don't know if my car was worth it, but it was just an orb. I was with my brother and my niece, and it was like 11 o'clock at night, and there were woods there. And right across the street from where we were staying, and there was nothing there, and there was just this orb of light, and it just changed colors like all the time, like green, orange, and then it would disappear.
Huh.
And then it would come back.
Wow.
And this went on from like 10 o'clock at night to like 2 in the morning.
How about that? And it was just staying in one location?
Yes, but it was above the tree line. It was up on Route 9 in New York, Lake George. It wasn't over the water. It was over the trees, and it just kept changing colors. And I was kind of kicking myself that I didn't ask the hotel owner if he ever saw anything like that, but it was strange.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing, and for it to stay there so long.
Yeah, and my niece, she was like 16 at the time. I went to bed, but she kept going out, and finally, but it would go away, but then it would come back. It was just an odd thing.
Yeah. Well, that's really fascinating. Another interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do appreciate you listening to the show and calling in.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Have a good night now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, so the line is open, and unfortunately I can only take in one caller at a time, but I do appreciate the participation tonight. So the line's open, and that's 603-967-4030. Someone tried to call in just a second ago. You're welcome to call back. And, well, I still haven't heard from Chris, and hopefully everything is fine with him. I'm going to guess that he fell asleep and has not woken up. I mean, a lot of times, before a show, it's always good to take a quick nap and, refresh and all that. So it's possible that he just did that and did not wake up yet, but he will. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Martin.
Hi there. I recognize your voice. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Ryan from South Carolina.
Yes, I knew that voice. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. Thanks for your call.
All right. Thank you for the T-shirt you sent. I haven't got it yet, though.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're the winner of the T-shirt. And but you got the shipping, whatever they call it. They sent the email. It's on its way.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's going on?
Nothing much. I had a question for your guest. I didn't know if you guys had covered this or not. I tuned in late.
Oh, well, my guest never showed up.
Oh.
But throw the question at me, and I might. This has been just a caller show, actually.
Oh, it has. Oh, okay. Well, wow. Boy, I've really messed this up.
Well, I'll see if I understand what your question was. Might be able to help you a little bit, but go ahead.
Well, if he was to an expert on cattle mutilations, I was just kind of curious. Had they had they noticed a pattern in these mutilations? I keep hearing that that a lot of these mutilations, they are targeting certain parts of the body based on DNA, so on and so forth. I'm just wondering, has anyone else heard that? Is there really a pattern, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer to that. I mean, that is pretty strange, the whole cattle mutilation thing. A lot of it just doesn't make sense, and a lot of people are very skeptical of that, and I understand why. But there's just so many things that don't make any sense at all, like the precision surgical cutting, and for it to be, if it was just one animal, then you could just, pass it off as, a bizarre situation. But it's been so many, and it doesn't look like scavengers. It doesn't look, it doesn't read any other way. And for some of them to have all the blood drained out of them, and that's just it's a whole bizarre thing. But unfortunately, Chris, he didn't answer his Skype tonight. I had talked to him earlier today, so I think he just fell asleep, and hopefully everything's good with him.
Yeah. The cattle mutilations, I have to admit, even someone who's a skeptic on UFOs like me, I've always been sort of intrigued by that, because some of the pictures I've seen look like precision cuts. I'm someone who lives out in the boondocks, so to speak, and I see predators, the remains of what predators have chewed on, and they're not that neat. So I have to admit, I am somewhat intrigued, ruling out the possibility of a hoax.
Yeah, I don't know why someone would hoax something like that, and what they would get out of it, and why it would be happening, and all across the country. It's just it's yes, it has focused in certain areas, but still, why would there be a serial cattle mutilator?
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like it makes any sense to me, but who knows?
Yeah.
Probably stranger things have happened. But I'm sorry I couldn't answer your question, but I still do appreciate the call.
Well, you're welcome.
All right. I'll talk to you next time then.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a good one.
All right, bye.
All right, everyone. So we still have the line open. I can cut this show at the 1 hour mark, or we can take another call. That's 603-967-4030. If anyone else would like to join in. Other than that, I might call it a night. So I'll wait just a couple of minutes here. And so I do want to just remind people to go check the blog over on my website. And the name of that is CIA, FBI, and Who Was Watching UFOs. So I think I will call it a night, everyone. Unless I get another call right away. I want to thank everyone that participated because, I had no guests and we still made it a full hour. So I'm going to leave this video up on YouTube, and I want to thank everyone again who helped out in the show tonight. So everyone, we'll be back next week with Gary Heselton, and remember to keep your eyes to the sky.